talk along the way. We are just barely firing our engines on this pre-race coverage on Fox. But now, for more Daytona 500 pre-race coverage, let's go back down to the World Center of Racing, the Daytona International Speedway, and Chris Myers.
All right, thank you very much, John. The weather here is outstanding. It's warm, sunny, and breezy. The crowd is excited, and so are we with Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Gordon. We have the best seat in the house, and so do you. We're in the grandstands with the Daytona 500 Club behind us. The finish line is just below us, and at the end of the day, it'll change forever for one driver.
All great moments begin with a vision. A chance to achieve something extraordinary.
This is absolutely a place where legends are born.
Along the way, you are tested.
There's a fight. Tempers overflowing.
Greatness can only be earned.
You know my masterpiece.
Shouldn't it?
20 years of frustration. Finally, Dale Earnhardt is a champion of the Daytona 500.
Sometimes it can't be done alone.
What a tremendous family performance.
You got it. You got it. You got it.
He was over in the passenger side right with me. I'm sure he was having a blast.
A moment lasts only an instant. But here, the greatest are etched in time forever.
Winning the Daytona 500 is one of the biggest prizes in all of motorsports.
The icons of this sport have all starred on its biggest stage.
Though today, a new era begins.
These young drivers, it's their time.
Who will contend with legends of the past?
I'm working on my masterpiece.
Who will seize the moment and make their mark on history? It's the Daytona 500 on Fox.
And I'm making it with these hands.
The painting may be complete, but the day just beginning here in Daytona. Which driver will finish with a masterpiece? Our defending champ of the sport, Martin Truex Jr., Danica Patrick in her final ride in the NASCAR series, the Daytona 500. She once sat on the pole here, and there's the 7-time champion, 2-time Daytona 500 winner, Jimmy Johnson. And the pole sitter used to be Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s number in the 88 car. That's Alex Bowman on the pole. Happy Daytona Day. That brings a big crowd, a sellout here at Daytona before they go 200 miles per hour. Darrell, you excited? I know you were talking to the crowd out here in the grandstands. They're excited.
I've signed more autographs this morning than I have since I retired.
It's all about him.
People are. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yes, and thanks for being here. All right, a part of Daytona Day and the 60th running of the Daytona 500.
There's nothing like waking up race day morning for the Daytona 500. All the preparation in the world cannot prepare you for the nerves and the adrenaline that's inside you right now.
So what stands out about this year's group of drivers, the ones we're going to see today?
Well, you know, we talk about veterans and how difficult these cars have been to drive this week. We've seen some cars just snap right up from underneath drivers, and I hear the drivers saying it's back in the driver's hands. But there's some talented young drivers. We've already seen Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney win their duels this week. The veterans are going to have something to say about that today.
I think the front row says it all, Chris. You got Bowman on the pole, and you got Denny Hamlin on the outside. Young guy wants to come take it away from the old guy. That's going to be the battle today we're going to watch. These young kids wanting to make a name for themselves, and these older drivers saying, not on my turf.
Yeah, and the older guys aren't even really all that old, but that's in driver speak.
Pick and choose.
This legendary track, referred to as a motorsports stadium, Daytona International Speedway, it sprawls out over nearly 500 acres. In fact, the infield, you could fit Super Bowl stadiums and Major League Baseball stadiums in there. It's a lot to cover, but you won't miss a thing because we have all the right people in all the right places.
It all ends right here in Victory Lane. The winner, whether it's a he or she, will have their name etched right here on one of the most iconic trophies in all of sports, the Harley J. Earl. They will raise this trophy in just a matter of hours and forever be known as a Daytona 500 champion.
Jamie, last year that driver was Kurt Busch. His Ford went directly from victory lane with sod, confetti, and all onto a display here at the Daytona International Speedway. Whose car today will be left behind in Daytona for the next year? We will find out shortly.
Matt, a short time ago, 20-year-old William Byron walked out of this motor coach to try and make history. It's the 20-year-old's first Cup race today, and he's going to be going at 200 miles an hour against the likes of Daytona 500 champion Jimmy Johnson and Cup champion Kyle Busch.
And Regan, now here where the drivers' meeting has just ended. For William Byron and 24-year-old pole sitter Alex Bowman and the others, the superstars and the long shots, the smiles and the sound bites are replaced with butterflies and anticipation for the biggest race of the year.
Vince, the Philadelphia Eagles ran a really special play to win the Super Bowl a few weeks ago. When drivers come down pit road this season, they're going to see their pit crew in a different formation. In 2018, we go from 6 to 5 crew members that go across the wall. That's going to force crew chiefs to call audibles to get their driver on and off pit road to win this Daytona 500, Michael Waltrip.
Larry Mack, we only have one rule down here, and that's to have a ball watching the Daytona 500. It's the greatest race ever, and I got to tell you, it feels like a Coachella festival's done busted up down here. And remember this, when the winner returns to victory lane to celebrate with those long, smoky, beautiful burnouts, it's going to be a day in sports you'll never forget. Mike Joy, it's Daytona Day!
It sure is, Mikey. I'm right above you on the flag stand. After Peyton Manning wheels the pace car to pit road and Charlize Theron waves the green flag from here, it's 200 mile an hour, edge of your seat, white knuckle racing for 500 miles. 9 times this race been decided by a last lap pass, including last year. And 2 years ago, the leader 100 feet from the line ended up second. That's the kind of day that we expect today, Chris.
All right, Michael, right over my shoulder here, connecting all of us so that we can connect with you. That spot, the first Daytona 500, was settled in a photo finish. Michael, have more on that later. The checkered flag actually changed hands days later when they declared the winner. As big as this event is, each year it finds ways to get bigger. The drivers go faster. We try and keep up and lean on TV tools to give you the best seat in your house. Gadgets to make you, the viewer, feel like you're right there at the race. We've added a tethered drone that can capture never-before-seen angles of the action right on the track. And if you want to feel like you're right there with your favorite driver, we've added visor cams to last year's winner Kurt Busch and Daniel Suarez, in addition to our 14 in-car cameras. So these amenities, along with our award-winning audio and many other advancements that we employ, help make NASCAR on Fox and our production the best there is. There's a lot of ways to watch. You guys experienced this as a driver, so you got to see firsthand. How's it changed over the years, and what's your view?
Well, that visor cam has changed everything. We're going to see these drivers wheeling it today. And truly, we talk about how skillful they are. Well, when you have that view, you really get to see the sense of what it's like to be in the draft.
These cars are running 200 miles an hour, Chris. I think today we have cameras in locations that will be able to capture that feel of that speed. Mike Joy was up on the flag stand. You wouldn't stand up there long, and you surely wouldn't wear a hat. But that visor cam, the car does a subtle move from a distance. When the fan at home said, that wasn't any big deal. Go inside that race car. It's breathtaking.
How about the conditions today? Quick sample, what do you think?
Well, the track's going to be hot and slick. The sun's out. These cars have been a handful this week, so the crew chiefs are going to make sure that those cars are handling better than they were in the duels. These drivers are going to have to make some big moves if they're going to win this Daytona 500. They're going to be inches away from one another. I think we're going to see one heck of a show from those drivers today.
We hear about aerodynamics all the time. Today we're going to be able to watch it in display because these cars are moving around. You watch them as they go down the racetrack, snaking around, jumping around, and the driver is not doing that on purpose.
You referenced the dual races. They were Thursday. Last Sunday we had the qualifying for the front row and the clash. Today, a culmination of speed weeks. This racetrack living up to its name as the World Center of Racing. Yesterday, in the Xfinity race, we saw the closest close finish in NASCAR history. This was unbelievable. The first overtime, we had 5 overtimes, and the first one ended in an 18-car wreck.
Wild and crazy racing all day, but not any wrecks until we got to the end of this race, and then it just went all out the window as far as wrecks and bumps and bangs and spins, and I don't know how many cars even into that race without damage.
I don't either, but Elliott Sadler, he was the perfect example of what all teams preach to their drivers. Never give up.
Look at this
He was spun out. He was about wrecked.
This is Tyler,
second.
Tyler Reddick edging out Elliott Sadler. The margin was 3 inches. Dale Earnhardt Jr. wanted to capture that officially.
He's everywhere.
In hundredths of tenths of a thousandth of a second, so 0.004 or something like that. It was just really close.
Let me write that down.
Incredibly close. Even the cameras could barely catch.
Well, and we mentioned some of the close finishes here over time. We have half the field of drivers in their 20s. So what we saw yesterday with experience versus inexperience, will we see big crashes today?
I think we're going to see these drivers really having a hard time trying to make moves like we saw yesterday. But this is the Daytona 500. You've got to go for it. You got to put it all out there on the line. And this is where the most talented. We've got not just young drivers. They're very talented with great teams. They're going to be a factor.
Yeah, I think you've got to go with experience today. These cars are literally moving all over the place, doing things unexpected. I think a driver that's been there, maybe had some of that experience, done this before, might have a slight advantage over some of the younger guys that haven't.
Yeah, I know Joey Logano, who's won this race before, told me, I just want to get out in front. I'm not worried about stage points. I want to get out in front and stay there as long as I can and hopefully wind up there. The Daytona 500 tradition rooted in time, also very unpredictable, as we've just discussed. The last 8 500s were won by 8 different drivers. Last year, Chase Elliott was about to win his first ever race. He ran out of fuel with 3 laps to go. It's one of the favorites today. His dad, Hall of Famer Bill Elliott, will join us out here on the set in just a moment.
There's lots more coming your way from Daytona, including a look at the new Hendrick drivers who are already making big moves. And it's the final time we'll see Danica Patrick. Our Jamie Little chats with her about everything from racing to...
So you have happiness?
Yeah.
And you have new love?
Yeah.
Tell me about Aaron.
Plus, a special sit-down with 2017's triumphant champion, Martin Truex Jr., on last year's success and how he plans to follow it up. And Charlize Theron gets us pumped up with driver intros. All that and much more, including a live performance from Rascal Flats, Michael's must-see grid walk, as we take you all the way to the green flag of the great American race.
Oh, that was late.
Hey guys, this week the 6 on my team are Truex, Logano, Larson, Blaney, Chase, and Suarez. For the rest of you, better luck next week.
She's missing out, dude. Yeah. The new NASCAR Fantasy Live. Build your team before the Daytona 500, and you could win $5,000.
NASCAR drivers have the shortest offseason of any sport, but made the most of it. Ryan Blaney this past offseason went to Costa Rica, then met Bubba Wallace over in Puerto Rico. Kevin Harvick, Ty Dillon, Joey Logano welcomed new additions to the family. Jimmy Johnson took the family to see snow. Kyle Larson got engaged. Austin Dillon tied the knot. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. kept it simple with family. And Martin Truex, the champion of NASCAR, rooted on his Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, as we welcome you back live on the scene to bring you closer to it all with Daryl and Jeff. I'm Chris Myers. Nice to have you watching on Fox, the 60th running of the Daytona 500 coming up. And when you talk about championships like Super Bowl champions, NASCAR champions, Hendrick Motorsports, 12 championships, the most of any. It wasn't too long ago they had Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr. as headliners. A lot of change. They still have Jimmy Johnson, the best of the sport, but now a youth movement. 20-year-old William Byron, 22-year-old Chase Elliott, the pole sitter, 24-year-old Alex Bowman. Jeff, this appears to be a successful work in progress with young people.
Yeah, Chris. I mean, Rick Hendrick is always trying to be innovative, to be in front of the competition. This year, there's a new young look to Hendrick Motorsports, and it's being led by 42-year-old 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson. I'm going to state the obvious. Got 2 new guys here. You got a new car. Chase, new number this year. Obviously, that was your dad's number, but you won the championship, makes Xfinity in that number.
People say, oh, glad to see you getting your dad's number. Listening to him respond to people, he said, well, that's as much Chase's number as it was mine. And I take a lot of pride in that. I would never be the first one to say that, but I do think it has some truth. I've run the number ever since I started racing go-karts. Mine, it's just a few races here and there. So to have the opportunity is awesome, and it's my favorite number, so it's a great fit.
What do you think it's going to take to get that win this year?
It's been a long road. A lot of people kind of got the misconception that I don't have that fire.
The bumper to the back of the 24, showing his displeasure.
It was good to see. I liked it. I want to see some more of that in 18.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see less of races ending like that. It would be great. There definitely is a lot of fire. It's always been there with me. Just because you carry yourself a certain way doesn't mean you don't care.
You're the senior leader now. And when I say senior, I don't mean just that you've been here the longest.
I have a little bit of age on these guys.
You take these two guys, Chase and Williams' ages together, and you're still older than them. Did you know
That's bad news. I wasn't aware of that. Thank you, buddy.
I've seen you take on this whole new leadership role. You sent out a tweet about, taking the kids to lunch. How's this relationship going to be this year with these three young guys?
Through my career, I've had great fortune to have mentors like yourself. And I knew at some point in my career, in my life, that would shift. I wasn't sure it happened at once with three guys, but I vividly remember when I first came in and you sharing things with me that I saw differently or approached differently. And I know for a fact that's going to happen with William and Alex and even Chase. I'm really excited. I want to be better at that. And I'm trying to take steps now to learn more, learn how to be a better leader.
William, I still am amazed how fast of a path since the first time you got behind the wheel of a race car. Does that blow your mind?
It's incredible. I grew up watching races as a kid. I get to do this for a living now and get to be in a car that a lot of kids would dream about being in.
Everybody knows you're a very good student. Jimmy Johnson's your neighbor. Do you just take your book bag and go to school, every morning over at Jimmy Johnson's house to learn?
He's the best one to learn from. Your help and Jimmy's help has been really important to me, and there are things I have to learn, and I feel like I try to race things that are going to challenge me in different ways. Race some RC cars every now and then.
I think you were up in Ohio or something.
Yeah.
So it was a big event.
5 days in basically a warehouse and negative 10 degrees outside. Racing RC cars is kind of a different dimension. You're not in the car feeling it. What I realized is that the guys that are successful in that have the same mindset of guys that are successful in any form of racing. I'm pretty green. I just have to keep learning each week.
So, Alex, what is that like being in the spotlight of Dale Earnhardt Jr.? Do you feel a lot of pressure?
Not really.
Or you don't want to admit it?
No, I feel like I put more pressure on myself to perform. At this point in my career, I just want to go have fun.
You actually have 81 starts, more than Chase Elliott.
It was a blessing in disguise to get to run full-time for 2 years with really nobody watching and make the rookie mistakes, and it's really going to help me going forward.
You think there's anybody in 2018 that's appreciating being behind the wheel more than you?
Definitely not.
Wow, that thing is fast.
Alex Bowman has just won the pole.
What a difference a year makes for Alex Bowman.
I've gone into this point of the year thinking I had a ride and sitting on the couch the rest of the year. It became something that I never thought was going to happen. There were times that I was pretty down and out and thought about different career paths. Just didn't give up and kept digging. I still can't believe that I ended up here. I can't put into words how appreciative and how thankful I am for the opportunity.
Some good stuff, and we welcome to by the way, Bill Elliott is here, ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer. We want to welcome father of Chase Elliott and two-time Daytona 500 winner. He walked over while we were listening in. And first of all, thanks for being here, and congratulations on raising a fine son and a fine driver. He has said, Chase has said, Bill, that, he gives me racing advice, but he's more my dad. How do you divide that line there when you're around him?
Well, Jeff and Darrell knows it's a fine line. You try to teach them the best you can, and then you try to step back and see how they grow into it, because I feel like it's more let them lean on you than vice versa, trying to school them in everything they do. And that's what I've tried to do with Chase, is step back, be a friend when I can be a friend, or be there when he needs me to be there, and just see how he handles the different situations.
Bill, I'm amazed at how you guys have gotten to this level. I think it's so cool. As a father who has a son interested in racing, I think there's a lot of other parents out there also that love to know, how is that path and how do you go about that?
It's a tough path, Jeff, and you and Darrell both know how hard this is. And the more this sport grows and where it's at today, it's just harder to get there. It's harder to be a part of it. And to me, just go out and have fun. That's what I try to tell the kids young, is you'll find your place as time goes on. If you're good enough, you'll get there. If not, that's the way it's supposed to be. But any of these guys, their careers could end today, whether they want it or whether it's not. And that's the thing that you got to understand is it's short. I said 21 will turn to 31, 41. You look back where it all went.
I can attest to
myself that. And you as well. It goes before you know it.
Bill, how would you characterize Chase as a driver? What kind of driver do you see? When you watch, what do you see?
Well, Darrell, I'll say this. The last 10 races of last year defined that boy as much as anything in his career. And I think he stepped up to the plate better than I ever expected those last 10 races. Well, granted, I told him at the end of the season, I know you didn't win a race, but I said, you were there. You did everything correctly. You did everything you needed to do. And I said, you just need to hold your head up and continue on.
And before we let you go, you could be the fourth family, the Elliott family, to have a father and son win the Daytona 500. Of course, the Petty, Allison, Earnhardt. So specifically, you've won this race twice. Did you tell Chase, did he ask you anything specifically about today in the Daytona 500?
No, we don't really talk about this. The evolution of stuff has changed so much. Just like when Jeff beat me here in 97. Had a really good car that day, and just the circumstances at the end of the race dictated the finish of the race. Jeff was good. He probably beat me anyway, but I lost that opportunity because it ended up under caution. But you come back to today, and it's just a whole different thing. Circumstances play out to the end of the race, just as we saw yesterday in the Xfinity race. Things change too much. You just never know what's going to happen. It's hard to give advice until you get to that situation.
I know you're probably more nervous watching than you were actually driving, but thanks for coming by. All right, have a great day. All right, that's a great Bill Elliott with us. Thank him for coming up saying hi. All right, thank you. Later, we're going to talk to Brad Kozlowski, also Martin Truex, but our Holly Saunders is stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. They're celebrating Daytona Day at a military party going on. Live on Fox from Daytona, and here at Daytona, Toyota providing fans with a lot of exciting activities. Also proud to feature its partnership with Hiring Our Heroes. It's a program that helps veterans and military spouses find meaningful employment. And in that spirit, Toyota Racing, along with Fox Sports, is bringing the excitement of Daytona Day and the Daytona 500 to the brave servicemen and servicewomen of Fort Campbell in Kentucky, an Army installation where our Holly Saunders is on the scene taking in some of the fun. And Holly, it's good to see you. What's going on there?
Hey, good morning, Chris, or good afternoon, Chris. Yeah, as you said, I'm at Fort Campbell, a military installation that borders Kentucky and Tennessee, just about an hour north of Nashville, to let you know where we are. And to honor our servicemen and women, Toyota Racing and Fox have come together to sponsor a pre-race party for all the men and women here. And everybody, Chris, is so excited. They're so excited for this biggest race of the year to kick everything off. And somebody who's also very excited and can tell us a little more about Fort Campbell is Lieutenant Colonel Martin O'Donnell. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. It's Daytona Day. What's not to be excited about?
What's not to like? Exactly right. But tell us, just give us a little more background of Fort Campbell here and what makes it so special.
In a word, readiness. Everything that we do here at Fort Campbell is all about training to fight and win our nation's war, and nobody does it better than those here at Fort Campbell. And we've got a myriad of units. We've got 5th Special Forces Group Airborne, the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, and then, of course, we have the 101st Airborne Division Air Assault, to which I'm a member. And it's a very storied and iconic division.
Right, that's one of the more well-known units. Can you go a little in greater depth for us, please?
It is. So it's known by its Old Abe patch that I'm wearing here. Has a 75-year legacy of heroism that dates back to World War II. We've been featured in numerous movies, television shows, from Band of Brothers to Saving Private Ryan, and we continue to be iconic. And remember, today we're getting ready to the division headquarters to go on its 4th deployment to serve in Afghanistan.
And earlier today, as we mentioned, we were all at a rec room called the Warrior Zone here at Fort Campbell, and that's where Daytona Day was taken over, wasn't it?
It was really taken over, and that's where the the Warriors here at Fort Campbell go to enjoy. It's a rec center. That's where they go to enjoy such things as that. And we couldn't be more thankful than to Toyota and Fox for coming here on this day and helping us celebrate Daytona Day.
It really has been a great party. Everybody was enjoying themselves. Now, before we go and send it back to Chris, just give me your prediction for today. I know you're a huge race fan.
Well, you know, winning is a big deal to us here at the 101st. My predictions: there's only one gentleman who's worn Old Abe, the patch here, on his deck lid, and that's Daniel Suarez. So my bet is with him.
Mine's Denny Hamlin. We play golf together. I know you're also a golfer. You have a golf course here.
We do, and perhaps maybe we can go hit a few rounds afterwards.
You hit a few rounds, maybe a few balls. Lieutenant Colonel, thank you so much for your service, and to all the men and women here and to Toyota Racing, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Chris, back to you and the crew.
All right, thank you very much. We're rooting for those guys, all right, no matter what. We appreciate that. And the party is continuing from Kentucky to Texas Motor Speedway, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. A big tailgate party. In the infield, fans can watch the race on Big Hoss, the world's largest HD TV. Talking about military veterans as we get a look from above. You know, Barney Visser, the owner of the Martin Truex Championship team, he served in Vietnam. So we certainly always appreciate all the servicemen and servicewomen. Good to know that they're watching on Daytona Day.
Well, and tremendous support all over the world from our servicemen and women. And no race, in my opinion, is more patriotic than right here at Daytona.
Yeah, they've helped us help them. They've sponsored our cars. We support the military, and our hats are off to every man and woman that's serving all over the world to protect us and give us the freedoms and to celebrate Daytona Day here at Daytona.
Yeah. I mean, when we see the opening ceremonies, this is more than a race. This is an event, and you'll see proof of that throughout the pre-race show. All right, from Talladega Nights to Daytona Day, the drama unfolding here, and always worth putting on the big screen. Movies have been made about NASCAR and racing. Our Shannon Spake is with actress and today's honorary starter, Charlize Theron.
Thanks so much, Chris. Well, 95% of the day today is going to be all about the guys inside the race car, but we have a little girl power on top of the pit box. Charlize Theron, she's a producer, she's an actress, she's a mom, and she's going to be in Gringo March 9th, and today she's the honorary starter here at the Daytona 500. What do you think about the little party that we throw once a year?
It's not little. It's pretty enormous. It's great. I mean, the energy is amazing. People are excited. It's definitely, it's fun to walk through the crowds and to see people really excited about this. I'm excited.
I know you have a lot of obligations before you actually get up to the flag stand. You were in the drivers' meeting. Have you had a chance to chat with any of the drivers yet?
No, they're very serious right now, and I would not want to be the person to throw them off their game. So I'm just trying to like stay in my place and respect what they need to go through. I mean, I can't imagine. I'm nervous for them, so I can't imagine how they feel.
So I know you were in the Fast 8 and Mad Max, so you've been around fast race cars and intense scenes.
Yeah.
But how'd you prepare to go 22 feet in the sky waving a flag when all of these guys are getting ready to gas it?
It's maybe a little bit easier than some of the stuff I had to do in movies, so I think I'll be okay. I hope, you know, but then again, now I said that, now I feel like I'm totally jinxing myself. I just don't want to drop it. I hear that's like the worst thing you can do, and nobody's ever done that, so I don't want to be the first person to do that.
Tight grip. That's the one thing they say, just don't drop it.
Exactly.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, guys.
Back to you, Chris.
All right, thank you very much. Hashtag 500 is a Twitter competition. She just said she doesn't want to drop it, and he dropped. I thought
Wave the flag, drop the hammer.
Right, I thought he was doing a magic act. We got Daryl Copperfield over here, but there's a reason he was waving that flag, because during the race today, you tweet for a chance to win the real gear being used here at Daytona 500, including the flag that Miss Theron is going to be waving. Right, not yours. You'll get.
No,
you
mine's gone.
That. If you're one of the first 500 people to tweet right now with the hashtag on the screen that we're showing you, you'll be entered for a chance to win the green flag. I can't believe he dropped that. All right, as we continue live from Daytona Beach, Florida, and the 60th running of the Great American Race. Peyton Manning is here, by the way. We're going to talk to him later. But also, we got some changes, some new pit stop rules. There's some drivers like Eric Almirola changing teams. We'll go with him behind the scenes and learn about that. And Danica Patrick, her last ride in NASCAR.
Okay,
guys. The Daytona 500 is today, which means the start of the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup season. There's been a lot of changes we've got to catch up on, so who are some of the new drivers to look out for?
Well, Alex Bowman has taken the place of Dale Earnhardt Jr. I hear the rookie has a particular set of skills.
I saw that William Byron also joined Hendrick Motorsports. William Byron, it sounds more like a British politician than it does a NASCAR driver.
This year's a little confusing because Eric Almirola goes from the 43 to the 10 car, while rookie Bubba Wallace goes to the 43 car with crew chief Drew Blickensderfer, which is a cool name. Sounds like a German power tool.
I'll tell you, it was confusing, man. In NASCAR, it's 4 left turns, huh? But when I drive, it's all right, all right, all right.
Okay, are there any rule changes we should look out for?
So this year, crews can't send 6 guys over the wall, only 5. That could add 2 to 3 seconds for pit stops, yeah? It's pretty cool to name it after me, right? Pit stops.
Stage racing is back again. Back in my theater days, stage racing was when we would sprint from one side of the stage to the other. Of course, we didn't do it for points. We did it for the love of stage racing.
Well, I read that NASCAR is rolling out a new inspection process, so we may finally retire the cucumbered win.
I think you mean encumbered win?
Well, either way, it's great on salad. Am I right?
Guys, can we talk about today's race? Does anyone have a pick for who will get the checkered flag at the start-finish line?
Wait, so in NASCAR, the start line is also the finish line? Wow.
Yeah. Wow! I forget it. Can someone just toss us back to the guys in Daytona?
I got this, Junior. Now back to 3 guys who should restrict their plates in the buffet line. Chris Myers, Darrell Waltrip, and Jeff Gordon. Ta-ta.
That's the best one we've ever done. Beautiful. Yeah, Ross, that was impressive. I mean, the McConaughey and the Michael Caine, it was as if they were there.
All right.
Yeah, so we see that. That was terrific. So he covered some of the changes. So let's welcome in Larry McReynolds for more. He's a combination of Mike Pereira, Larry the Cable Guy, and he's our crew chief. What's the most significant rule change, Larry? And thanks for being with us. Happy Daytona Day that you think will play out today.
No question, Chris. It's going to be right here on pit road. This is a much bigger change than I think we've been actually talking about. You heard it just a minute ago. 6 crew members servicing the car last year in 2017, 5 this year. And this is going to be a huge thing that goes on pit road because what we've essentially lost, Chris, we've lost a tire carrier. We still have a Jackman, 2 tire changers, 1 tire carrier. Everybody on the crew will be multitasking except for the fueler. This is big. The fueler can do nothing but fuel the race car. In crew members in the past, there was a fueler. They actually made adjustments. Now, coming down here, the anticipation, this would slow pit stops down 2 to 3 seconds. But already in the clash and the duel, we have seen 4, 5, 6+ seconds slower than last year. Honestly, Chris, I think today it's going to make a difference in the way a crew chief calls the race.
Thanks, Larry. Could be 3 or 4 seconds. I mean, baseball wants to speed up play, right? Pace of play. Football is still figuring out in the NFL what's a catch, right? So here, this change, what effect will it have on a driver?
Well, we talk about execution and being flawless on pit road, on the racetrack. That is going to really make it difficult to execute flawless today on pit road.
The air gun itself. I mean, last year they had one that went, wee, 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 wee. This year they got one that goes a little bit slower. Pop, 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 pop. It's like a football that's maybe a little low on air. And a little easier to hold on to.
But 30 years ago, a 20-second stop was considered good. We scaled that way back, right? 12 or 13.
But understand this. This now brings the skill set and the athleticism to those pit crew members to a higher level. They've got to be on their game. They got to be very.
And they're very athletic anyway.
Yeah, even though it's slowed down, I'm telling you, these guys are going to be tested today.
My experience has always been, I got to do more. You're going to have to pay me more. That's been my experience.
Well, and we'll have an average of, 5 pit stops, at least in a routine Daytona 500. So very key in terms of seconds to a driver, to a crew, to get used to that. For more on a driver in the race and his perspective, let's check in with 2007 Daytona 500 winner, Kevin Harvick, who's with our Matt Yoakum.
Chris, Kevin Harvick has been involved in the sport during that great evolution of the pit stop, and now with the rules for 2018, Kevin, the sights and sounds will obviously be different. How do you adjust mentally inside the race car?
Well, that's the biggest adjustment that we have to make. Obviously, getting in the pit box is going to be the same, but everything just happens a lot slower for you. So, I think with those pit stop times and the adjustments and the amount of time that it takes, it also plays into your strategy as you go throughout the race if you have a green flag pit stop or something along those lines. So, just takes a little longer for them to get from the right to the left, but I've been here long enough to have experienced some low 20-second pit stops in my career. So it's definitely an adjustment, but everybody on our Jimmy John's Busch Ford does a great job, and they've had a good week so far of making pit stops.
11 years ago today, February 18th, changed your life forever when you won the Great American Race. Fast forward to now, your life has changed so much. 2 kids, a different race team. How would a win today be much more meaningful and impactful to you?
Well, winning this race is like winning no other race, and seeing your name on that Harley J. Earl Trophy is really special. I think as you look at where I'm at today in my career and the team that I'm with, I think I personally would get more satisfaction of getting out of that car and seeing those smiling faces of my team members and Rodney and all the guys that put this number 4 car on the racetrack. So I love the competition. I love driving the car, but I also love seeing my team happy when we've achieved something great.
Speaking about a team, he's got a new teammate in 2018. Eric Almirola takes over the 10, and Eric allowed the Fox cameras to draft with him off track during speed weeks. Here's some of the fun.
Eric Almirola moves from Richard Petty Motorsports to Stewart Haas Racing.
Being with a new team, you kind of want to get off to a good start, so I'm looking forward to having a good qualifying run here.
Almirola just comes in there in 5th. Tell you what, those Stewart Haas Fords look pretty racy here.
That should make the next round. I think so. See? Still 5th. Okay.
Eric Almirola was hoping, but no.
I didn't think, honestly, that we'd have a shot at the top 12, so I was happy about that. Yeah. Media day. Yay.
You're going to hate racing by the time it's all said and done.
Hate racing, or him. So, new team, new organization, but still just as excited as ever. Let's go to the Fox Media shoot. It's a dance floor. Media day. Done. Day of the duels. I have absolutely nothing to do till 7 o'clock tonight when I get ready to go race. So gonna get a 60-mile bike ride in this morning. I'll still have 5 or 6 hours to do nothing till the duels start tonight. Ready to go race, brother? Bring it back to me just like this. I know. I'm gonna work on that. Yeah, I'm okay. Pretty bummed out about it, for sure. That was not the way I had tonight envisioned. Today's a brand new day. You believe that crap last night? Ah, damn. Oh, well.
Oh, no, there they go. Spinner into the wall, Almirola.
We were going for it, and unfortunately, we just ended up in a big wreck. But, gosh, so close. We almost won, but we did it. There's always tomorrow, right? Yep. Tomorrow.
Eric Almirola grew up in Tampa, a few hours drive from here. He used to come to the grandstands as a kid and watch. So for him, just, to drive the Daytona 500 is a dream realized. His first start for Stewart Haas Racing, which was the race team with Kurt Busch that won the Daytona 500 last year.
Yeah, this is year 2 with Stewart Haas Racing, being with Ford Motor Company. Then the addition of Eric Almirola and replacing Danica Patrick. I think they have one of the strongest opportunities and driver lineups down there in that garage.
I do too. I'm going to miss Tony, the old man, though, in pit box. Man, what a celebration he had down there when Kurt Busch won this
crew
race.
Chief change.
Yeah, crew chief change. Billy Scott took over for Tony. So, but I think if you look at the Hendrick lineup and the youth in that lineup, and then you look over at Stewart Haas, they've got some experienced drivers that know how to win this race. They're going to be tough today in those Fords.
Yep, drivers hope for a lot of things. Usually they don't like flats, but in this case they might. Grammy-nominated band Rascal Flatts warming up. We all enjoyed their song "Life is a Highway," featured in the movie Cars. It's part of the great scene. We're going to hear from them right here. Here's a quote from two-time Daytona 500 champ Jimmy Johnson. The Daytona 500 is a career-winning race. It defines careers for drivers, crew members, crew chiefs, and race teams. It has that power. Daytona 500 critical, and one of the unique things in all of sports, the drivers meeting, they all gather together and go over specific questions. Today, none of them actually asked questions of the rules, but there was a special ovation for Danica Patrick in her last run in NASCAR, former Daytona 500 pole sitter. Well, last year's Daytona 500 was the sport's most competitive race. There were 4 different leaders in the last 4 laps. 500 miles. It's that kind of edge-of-your-seat racing that keeps fans coming back to the great American race. It has drivers dreaming of that moment. As Mike Joy tells us, some of the best behind the wheel, though, have missed out when it comes to delivering at Daytona.
In its 59-year history, 38 different drivers have won stock car racing's crown jewel, the Daytona 500.
Well, here are 10 who never hoisted the Harley Earl Trophy, missing it by just that much. The very first 500 finish was clouded in controversy. Johnny Beauchamp's number 73 was flagged the winner, but this photo launched an inquiry. After 3 days of studying newsreel footage, Big Bill France demoted Johnny to second. Ned Jarrett in 1963 and Alan Kulwicki in 89 had victory in their grasp but had to stop for fuel in the last few laps. Well, who got past for the 500 win on the final lap? Sergeant Charlie Glotzback, 1969. Tony Stewart, 2008. And Kyle Larson, 2017. In 2007, Mark Martin led Cumming to the flag as cars crashed behind him, losing by 3 feet. In 2016, the closest 500 finish ever, Martin Truex led 100 feet from the line, but got beat by 100th of a second. That's 4 inches. So who is Daytona's hardest luck, coulda, woulda, shoulda, near winner? Terry Labonte, who finished second 3 times? Nope. Donnie Allison. 1974, leading with 11 laps to go. A car's engine explodes in front of him, and the debris blows out both of Donnie's front tires. Then in 79, it's Donnie and Cale side by side in the backstretch. Final lap for the win. They both crash out of the race in turn 3. Daytona 500 seem most memorable when they include a nail-biting right on the edge of your seat finish. So hope for another one today. But know that it means for one driver, he'll never forget how close he came.
All right, in today's race, these are at least Keselowski, Busch, Truex, all champions of this sport who have yet to capture the great American race. Kyle Larson, a guy on the verge of a championship, one of the young, hot, rising talents. Who has the best chance of that group to come through today?
Oh, Keselowski. He's been so hot down here already. He's so good on the restrictor plate tracks, and his car is very strong.
I like Kyle Busch. I think he's really, really due. He runs well here. The cars are fast. Those Toyotas are fast. I think he's a guy to keep an eye on today.
You know, we have William Byron, who can do something that's never been done before. He's running. He's been very successful in the other series, but he's running in his very first Monster Energy Cup race and his first Daytona 500. Nobody's ever won the Daytona 500 in their first Daytona 500 and their first Cup race.
Well, he's extremely talented. I mean, how quickly he has made it from his first time he got behind the wheel of a car to here in the Cup Series, driving for one of the most prestigious teams out there with Rick Hendrick and Hendrick Motorsports. He has a steep learning curve ahead of him. It's going to be very tough conditions today, but this kid has amazed me, so I wouldn't be surprised if anything comes out of him.
I like the way he operates. He doesn't leave any stone unturned. He crosses every I, across every T and dots every I. He's worked with his spotter. They went to the test together so they could communicate. He studies the dash in the car, the digital dash, so he knows what he's got there. He really is a student of the sport to be such a young man. He's a guy that's going to catch on quick. I just don't know if he'll do it today or not.
Yeah, and it's interesting that age 20, right, he say, is he too young to be pushed? Well, Rick Hendrick said, look, he was winning in every other series, and just as you talked about, he's an Eagle Scout. He's a grade A student, still going to school. We saw in your piece at college, and his smarts, he really connects well with the modern-day car and the technology. It's natural for him.
Yeah, it's very much behind the scenes. We don't probably highlight it enough of the technology it's involved building these cars, setting these cars up, and that type of communication you have to have with your engineers to help them understand what the car is doing so that they can can relate it to the computer simulation. I think he is perfectly placed in the right time to be competitive and win races here.
I just think experience is going to be so crucial today. We saw in the qualifying race, Ricky Stenhouse got on his left rear quarter panel, made a quick move, spun him out. He learned. That was a lesson learned. He can take that information and apply it today. But the learning curve is steep, and experience is going to be premium today, I think.
There's another driver to watch, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the Ford group, who's won 2 of the last 3 restrictor plate races, which we have here. Has yet to win a Daytona 500. And then Trevor Bayne, you were part of that race when he made history as the longest of long shots. We'll see him running today. I mean, you can get in this race and survive, and I don't want to say be fortunate to be there at the end, but tell us about what that's like for some of the young drivers who want to be in that position.
Yeah, it's so tough to manage being patient and being aggressive. We saw how aggressive Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was in the duels on Thursday, made some big moves, turned some cars around, but I think he learned something. He learned what he could do. I'm looking for a car today that's maneuverable, that can make this pass down to the bottom, slide up in front of other cars, and I think he may be one of those, but some young guys are going to take those moves, and some veterans are going to show them maybe what they shouldn't have been doing.
Older drivers are a little more patient, and you got to the first thing you tell a driver, you got to finish this thing. Be patient. Young drivers aren't patient. What do the young drivers not have? They don't have patience, and so you don't want to lose the race halfway through it. Get yourself to the end and have a chance.
And the reason we're kind of yelling is because Rascal Flatts is playing behind us. It's a sellout crowd. We have more than 100,000 people here for the race and all the festivities that come with Daytona Day. So let's head down to Michael Waltrip.
Chris, I'm amongst the people, too, and the concert is awesome. Do you have a favorite Rascal Flatts song?
Yours if you want to.
You want it?
I want it.
She wants it. NASCAR, Rascal Flatts.
Getting ready to hit the road this summer for their headlining Back to Us tour, the most awarded country group of the past decade, Rascal Flatts.
Here we go. Daytona. Put your hand up.
There's one more sip in this bottle of wine, and a star hanging in the sky with a wish left on it. And it's yours if you want it. This wildfire from the neighbor's yard, a real slow dance in the moonlight dark, this hand in my pocket. Oh, baby, just call it, 'cause it's yours if you want it. If every bit of love left in this beat of made of scar of heart that's been waiting on a girl like you. Oh, it ain't much, but it comes alive with every touch. Every kiss already feels like you own it. Maybe it's yours if you want it. Oh, half of this rickety trunk will swing. Every word of every song I sing, my jacket when it's cold. Oh, baby, don't you know that you got a place to lay your head on the other side of my empty bed, and it's just me. And it's yours if you want it. It's yours if you want it. And every bit of love left in this beat of made of scar of heart that's been waiting on a girl like you. And I know it ain't much, but it comes alive with every touch. Every kiss already feels like you own it. And baby, it's yours if you want it.
Rascal Flats. It's a Super Bowl-sized event. Former Super Bowl MVP Peyton Manning will talk to us and tell us why he's here in Daytona. DraftKings is the official one-day fantasy sports partner of NASCAR and offering a completely free today $10,000 contest for the race at the 500. Sign up using the promo code PITSTOP shown at the bottom of your screen, and you can play for free. If you want to know how to get involved into the action, here's how.
Race day is back on DraftKings, the official one-day fantasy sports partner of NASCAR. To celebrate, DraftKings is offering a free $10,000 fantasy contest for Daytona. Completely free. No deposit required. Download the DraftKings app and sign up using promo code PITSTOP. That's promo code PITSTOP to play for free. Once you're in, choose NASCAR as your sport, find the free $10,000 contest in the lobby, and start your chase towards victory lane. Fantasy NASCAR is easy to play. Simply draft 6 drivers while staying within the $50,000 salary cap. Drivers score points for laps led, fastest laps, and most importantly, finishing position. So pick your driver you think will take the checkered flag. Once the race starts, just watch your points add up and climb the leaderboard. Celebrate Daytona and the return of racing with DraftKings one-day fantasy NASCAR. Put the pedal to the metal and play in the free $10,000 contest. DraftKings, the game inside the game.
And don't forget to download the DraftKings app. Sign up using promo code PITSTOP and play for free. A lot of games to play, even a contest with $600,000 in prizes. Make sure you use the promo code PITSTOP when you sign up. We're live here in Daytona from in the grandstands and in the Hollywood Hotel. It's a pleasure to welcome the pole sitter in the 88 car, Alex Bowman, alongside one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in NFL history, Peyton Manning, at his first Daytona 500. He's going to be the pace car driver. And Peyton, I have to ask, I hope you're leaning on your driver, your nationwide teammate, for some tips.
That's exactly right. I've been getting a lot of advice from Alex. Very excited to have Alex on the nationwide team. What an exciting opportunity winning the pole. So looking forward to seeing him race today, seeing my good friend Dale Earnhardt Jr. get honored. And I'm going to try to stay off the highlights driving this pace car, Chris. I want to stay out of the way.
Yeah, watch out, Peyton. I was the pace car driver last year. I think Alex might come up there and give you a little donut in the door. Hey, I'm curious. You've performed on the biggest stage in NFL, the Super Bowl win it 2 times. I mean, what's this experience been like for you so far at our Super Bowl Daytona 500? And what advice can you give that guy next to you to handle that pressure?
Well, he obviously realizes what a special opportunity is. I can tell he's ready to get started. I'm sure he will give me a little love tap in that pace car. Just looking forward to getting this race started. But it's kind of unique, Jeff. I mean, to start the season off really with the Super Bowl is a lot different in football. But what an incredible atmosphere. Really am honored that Nationwide had me down here to be a part of it.
Peyton, it's Darrell Waltrip. I know you're excited about driving that pace car today, but did you ever think about sliding off into that 88 and making a few laps?
I'm just not worthy, Darrell. I'm not qualified.
This is fit in the seat.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Even the pace car is a little tight for me, but I've certainly always enjoyed watching these guys compete, watching these guys work, getting a chance to see some things behind the scenes. It's a real thrill for me.
Alex, every time the Daytona 500 came around and I woke up that morning, there was so much nerves and anxiety knowing what I'm going to have to go do. The battle is ensuing, but also the magnitude of this race. How are you feeling this morning? You got it in you, man?
Yeah, I actually feel way better than really I have previously racing. I feel like, just being here, knowing that I have a great race car is a huge change for me. So, it's not a lot of nerves, just really happy to be driving the Nationwide 88 car for Hendrick Motorsports. Obviously, these Camaros, the L1s, have been really fast. I'm calm, cool, and collected, and ready to keep that thing up front.
Hey, Peyton, I think that they clock the velocity of a quarterback throwing a football at 60 miles per hour. You'll probably be doing that in the pace car. They'll be going 200 out here. Have you ever clocked yourself on miles per hour throwing a football?
No, never have. I was always more into that accuracy thing, Chris. Just trying to kind of dink and dunk down the field. So I'm going to try to stay out of the way. The guy driving the pace car is kind of the equivalent of the kid going out to get the tee after the kickoff. I just want to stay out of the way, right? I do not not want to be on any type of highlights later on this evening.
Alex, you know, it has to give you a lot of confidence to know that Dale Jr. wanted you to drive his car. That's got to be a big boost to you as you start this season.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Dale's been a huge part of my career. I wouldn't be here without him, whether it was driving in his Xfinity cars or him saying I want Alex in the Cup car, whether it was filling in for him or taking this car over. So Dale's been like an older brother to me. Just very thankful to kind of been able to lean on him and get advice from him, and he's always just a text away, so it's definitely good to have him on my side.
Well, hey, and I gotta, Peyton, I gotta ask, we all love the commercials. How often does it happen? I'm sure you had it where people come up with the Nationwide theme, or they're humming it or singing it, a little Parmesan for you. Has to happen on a regular basis.
I've only heard it 100 times today, Chris. The afternoon is still young, but it's obviously been a fun relationship. It's kept me involved and kind of kept me with a connection with the fans, and so I really have enjoyed the relationship with Nationwide, and to be down here and to have a chance to kind of be behind the scenes with Alex today. My son Marshall's been with me. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we miss you on the field, but we love watching you on the commercials.
I like it.
He's all right.
Use that.
All right. Thanks very much, Pete. Good luck, Alex. All right. You guys enjoy Daytona Day and the Daytona 500. Let's welcome in a driver in the 2 Ford Fusion, part of Penske Motorsports. He's with us right now, and in a backup car today. But one of the favorites. He's been a champion in the sports. Great to have Brad Keselowski this close to the start of the race, getting ready to go and talking with us. Brad, I know this is on your checklist here. How do you feel in terms of the role of being one of those expected to win? I know you always feel that way.
To win, but you look at Daytona. Daytona is it's a tough race. It's 500 miles. Obviously, Daytona 500, very grueling, 200 laps, and that last 100 miles has kind of bit us. We've been really close to winning this race, and it's just kind of fallen apart on us the last few times. But we're pumped today. This is probably the fastest car I've ever had, Chris, with a discount tire Ford, and the team's really prepared. I feel like my tactics have really matured over the last few years, and we're ready to win the Daytona 500. It's just we got to catch all the right breaks and make all the right moves. It's a really long race. Avoid those wrecks. It sounds easier than it really is. I can promise you that, Chris.
Hey, Brad, this is Jeff. You came from the back of the class last Sunday, showed everybody how to get it done. Now you're going to be starting at the back of the Daytona 500. I mean, these cars are not handling like we've seen down here in the past. What do you see as the biggest challenges for you and the team to get from the back to the front, get those stage and points for the playoffs as well as the Daytona 500 win?
Well, I think, Jeff, there's a number of challenges that really stick out in my mind. First off is avoiding the wrecks. I look at it, no matter who you are, every Daytona 500, it seems like you get buried in traffic. Jeff, you've won a Daytona 500, and I rewatched some of those films before this race just to get ready, and I saw you win one of the Daytona 500s where you were running in the back of the pack, and you were patient, and you persevere through that adversity. That's what's going to take today. It's just I'm getting that test at the very start of the race, so you got to be able to avoid those wrecks. You got to make the right moves through traffic. You got to have a lot of confidence in your car and the speed in your car to be able to do it, and I think we have that. So I've got to be really situationally aware of what's going on. We've got to be really smart with the pit stops. I expect with the stages we'll see green flag pit stops. Seems like every time that happens there's wrecks, but we got to put it all together for sure.
Yeah, Brad, communication is huge. We know that, whether it's with Paul Wolf in the pits or your spotter. How big a role does the spotter play in keeping you out of trouble and helping you win this race?
Well, spotters are critical, without a doubt. You got to know where you're at on the racetrack for sure, but you also need to know where the other cars are. Remember for the fans at home that the cars are only capable of running about 195 mile an hour by themselves. But in a pack, they can run 200, sometimes even 203, 204 mile an hour. So it's really, really important to utilize the draft, utilize the other cars around you. But as a driver, there's only so much I can see. So I rely on the spotters to at least, or my spotter, Joey Meyer, to help me know where those cars are so I can be in the perfect spot to make the most of that draft. And that's going to be critical here today for sure, DW.
Before we let you go, I know you had somebody close to you pass away recently, and you're honoring him with words that he told you on the back of your car in this race today in the 60th running of the Daytona 500. Tell us about what he meant to you and why we should all remember it.
Yeah, Bruce Howie, a tremendous man who passed away this offseason, who is one of the really critical people for my career to get started and to be with Team Penske. So I'm very fortunate to be able to honor him today. The team let us put him on the car, and an angel that he used to give away and his 5 key values. I encourage anyone that has the time and chance to look up his 5 key values. They're words to live by, about being, capable of paying it forward, showing gratitude, high levels of integrity. That's what it really takes to be professional in not just the sport, but across all the platforms in this world. And it's something I hope to be a part of and hope to be able to do as I continue to grow and mature as a person. And so, Chris, we're really honored to be able to showcase that here today on our car.
Yeah, the quality makings of a champion. Thank you, Brad. Good luck today. All right, we'll talk later.
Thanks, guys. Hope to see you at the end.
All right, we hope so. It is Ford Fusion. Brad Keselowski coming up. The orchestra tuning up, drivers gathering behind the curtain before their intros. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Those who live up to their names make one for themselves. Goodyear, more driven. These drivers will be racing around on these Goodyear tires. We're going to take it backstage to meet the drivers here in just a moment, but a check with Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Gordon, Chris Myers on the odds in Las Vegas posted for today. Jeff, the favorites, what do you think? We just heard from Brad Keselowski, who's confident.
Favorite, but he's starting in the back. I mean, it's kind of tough to have those kinds of favorite odds when he's going to have to come through the field.
Yeah, I could take any one of those guys. I mean, they're all good.
All right, but if you're going to play a long shot, remember Trevor Bayne won this as a 125-1 long shot at the age of 20.
Yeah, don't count out Darrell Wallace Jr. I think he was impressive. William Byron is definitely going to have challenges. But Alex Bowman, pole sitter, I think he's got a great shot.
Yeah, I like Bubba Wallace. 50-1, I'll take that 43 car. He driving for the King. The King's won this race 7 times. Go, Bubba.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney's a good long shot, too, and a Penske Ford part of that team. Let's hear from some of the drivers backstage with Vince Welch. And we'll start with Jamie Little. Jamie?
Well, Chris, there's one true rookie in the field. He's never raced a Cup car before. William Byron, 20 years old. Did you get any sleep last night?
It was honest. I'll be honest, it was really hard too, but I tried to just stay focused on this race and make sure I could prepare the best I could. But it's great to be driving the 24 car here at Daytona and just ready to get in that race car.
Vince, who do you have?
Well, don't be shy about putting a Benjamin on this guy, Ricky Stenhouse in the 17. You might not bet on yourself, but a lot of others will. You won a couple of times on the plate track last year. How do you feel about today?
I feel like I bet on myself every day. It's how I make my living. But no, I feel really good. Our Fast and All Ford's been good all speed weeks, and it's a different animal today. All 40 cars will be out here at the same time, and it'll be interesting to see how the handling comes into play when you take no tires. Definitely going to want to take no tires early so you can kind of see what it's going to be like for come the end of the race. But we're ready to go. I'm pretty happy, and we'll see how it works out.
Sounds fun. Jamie?
And Austin Dillon's starting in the back because he had to go to a backup car. He's in the 3. What do you feel like your chances are getting that number 3 back to victory lane in the Daytona 500?
I'm really confident. We've had a solid speed weeks, and just want to finish it off today with a chance to be in victory lane at Daytona. There's nothing like it being here at the 500. The energy's awesome. I'm just proud to be here representing RCR and Dow and Chevrolet.
All right, thank you. Good luck. Chris?
Thank you very much. That 3 car, right, Ferry? We saw about Earnhardt winning his only Daytona 500 earlier. That 3 car represented well by Austin Dillon.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a lot of pressure to be in the Daytona 500, but even more pressure when you're carrying that number 3 of all the success he had at Daytona.
In this field, by the way, Jeffrey Earnhardt, so it's the 40th straight running of the Daytona 500 that an Earnhardt is running in the Great American Race. When Danica Patrick announced that this would be her last Daytona 500 before retiring, and that got people's attention. It was big news. What also got people's attention was when she announced that she was dating Green Bay backer quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who is here this weekend, by the way, rooting her on. So let's head back to Jamie Little to get more on Danica being done after Daytona.
Well, Chris, as Danica Patrick gets ready to strap in for her final NASCAR race, she does it with a sense of contentment and happiness. She'll be surrounded by her entire family today, including her new love, Aaron Rodgers. But most importantly, she knows that she's stepping away from racing on her terms. So in November, you announced your retirement.
This will be my last season as a full-time driver.
When you look back, do you feel like you accomplished everything that you hoped to in this sport?
No, absolutely not.
If you went through every driver in the Cup Series, would any driver say I accomplished everything I hoped for? I don't know. If they did, then I wonder what their idea of success was, or, you know, I don't know. I'd say shoot higher. Like, I think I should always fall short. You know, the frustrating thing is at the end of my second year, I finally got to the point where it was like qualifying in the top 12 was really normal, different crew chief changes and things like that. You know, it just, you know, I had to keep restarting. So yeah, so that's a little frustrating, and that's part of leaving. It's like I don't know what the answer is.
So you have happiness?
Yeah.
And you have new love?
Yeah.
Tell me about Aaron. He's such an elite athlete himself that now the table is turned and he gets to watch you compete.
Yeah.
What is that like?
I came into the bus after being in my suit for media day, and I was like, oh my God, he's never seen me in my suit before. This might be funny. He just kept going like, let me see those things. And he's like looking, he's like, turn around. He's like, what's that? I felt like slightly uncomfortable. I was like, do I look weird? But it's just neat that he can see what I do really firsthand because there's not much of it left.
So when Sunday ends, how do you envision that farewell playing out for you?
I don't think that getting out of the car part is going to be the hard part. I think the hard part is going to be getting in the car. I think it's going to be, you know, family right there. And look, you know my dad. He's emotional. He's going to be a disaster.
You're so competitive. Are you going to miss it?
I mean, probably. I don't really know what it's like to not race, so we'll see.
And we thank Danica, one of just 3 women who have run in the Daytona 500. Is there somebody on the horizon, a female, that she's cleared the path for?
Oh, she's cleared the path for a lot of young ladies. Natalie Decker won the pole down here for the ARCA race last week. I think Danica will eventually get a lot of credit for opening a lot of doors for certainly a lot of young ladies. And today may be a Cinderella send-off for her.
And I think her impact for female drivers in the future, it could be 5, 10, 15 years from now, we start to really understand what impact she truly had on this sport.
We'll be keeping a close eye on her, the 60th running of the Great American Race, NASCAR's biggest, most famous, prestigious race on a famous stage. Time for driver introductions. Let's check in with Oscar winner Charlize Theron.
All right, race fans, the green flag is fast approaching. It's time to meet 40 of the best drivers in the world who are competing to take home racing's most famous trophy. Starting in the back, these guys have some work to do. In row 20 is a couple of driving veterans. Row 19 has a couple of guys with big expectations for this season. Jimmy Johnson's quest for his 3rd Daytona 500 just got a tad harder to achieve. The 7-time champion starts on row 18. 2 of the youngest ever to start this race will do so from row 17. The money all week was on Brad Keselowski to win it. Starting in row 16, the Michigan man will earn his first 500 trophy if he wins today. Canadian DJ Kennington starts in row 15 with Justin Marks. The most successful woman ever to race in the Daytona 500 suits up for her last NASCAR race. Danica Patrick starts in row 14. Casey Kane, sporting new colors this season, is in row 13 with Brendan Gaughan. The champ rolls next. Martin Truex Jr. starts his title defense. And just missing the top 10 are Michael McDowell and Chris Buescher. The rest of the drivers, including the pole sitter, are coming up.
All right, thank you. There's, as the driver introductions take place, Jimmy Johnson. You know, we only have 8 drivers in the 40 today that have won a Daytona 500. He's the only one who's won it twice.
Well, Jimmy Johnson's no stranger to starting in the back of a field and coming right up through there and winning.
He'll be in a backup car today. Martin Truex Jr., the champion of the sport, still searching for that first ever Daytona 500. He's been close, that win.
They were lacking a little speed earlier in the week, but I think Cole Pern and them have got that thing tuned up. I look for him to be right up front all day long.
He'll be in that 78 Toyota. Kyle Larson, there's Eric Almirola, who we heard from earlier, over to Stewart Haas Sports from Florida. And Kyle Larson, one of those guys, if you look at the young crowd, he's not the youngest of the young, but he's in that wave that's moving forward, pushing for a championship.
He's been dirt tracking all offseason. He's been dirt tracking down here in Daytona this week, but I look for him to come to the front.
One of the best blockers I think I've seen down here. He really takes a lot of chances.
Let's get back to Charlize Theron.
These drivers race their way into the top 10. They are just that much closer to being called a Daytona 500 champion for the rest of their life. Row 10 is looking A-OK with A.J. Allmendinger and 2010 winner Jamie McMurray. Another former 500 champ is in row 9, Trevor Bayne. He starts alongside Daniel Suarez. The states of Georgia and Wisconsin are being repped well in row 8. Austin Dillon shares row 7 with 2008 winner Ryan Newman. The Busch brothers own row 6 all to themselves. Let's see if Kyle and Kurt will show any brotherly love as they take the green. Row 5 has 2 guys looking to hoist their first ever Daytona trophies. Row 4 is Darrell Wallace Jr., primed for his first Daytona 500 win. Row 3 has 2 guys looking for their second Daytona 500 victory. Chase Elliott in the number 9 car, along with Ryan Blaney, both earned their spots with dramatic dual wins Thursday night. And now, the front row, where we've got a little bit of the old guard with a splash of the new generation. On the outside pole, it's Denny Hamlin, and this guy knows how to win this thing. In fact, he was part of the closest finish ever, just 4 inches. So, how do you replace the most popular driver ever? Well, putting that iconic number 88 car on the pole of the biggest race is not a bad start. It's Bowman, the showman. The Arizona kid will take the green flag for the 60th running of the Daytona 500. Now, the only question left to answer is, who will be there at the end with the checkered flag?
Thanks, Charlize. It was good hanging out with you. And don't forget, her new movie, Gringo, opens March 9th as the introductions continue. Kyle Busch, champion of the sport, but still seeking that Daytona 500 that's not reached. His brother, Kurt Busch, is trying to become the first back-to-back Daytona 500 winner since the mid-90s when Sterling Marlin did it. Only 3 people have done that.
Yeah, Michael and I both have won the Daytona 500. I'm the older brother. I won it first, and he came along and won it later. But
then he won 2. He told me to remind you.
I know. He always reminds me of that as well.
I love watching that lineup because we have brothers side by side. We've got teammates side by side. We've got rivals side by side.
Chris, there's so many guys. I could pick a number of guys that would not surprise me if they won this race. Paul Menard, Eric Jones, Suarez. I mean, just so many.
And Denny Hamlin in the FedEx Toyota, part of Joe Gibbs Racing, a guy who's been close, hasn't yet won the championship in the sport, but the 500, he has had success here.
Yeah, and there would be no surprise to me to see him be up front a lot today and possibly win his second Daytona 500.
This guy right here, he has had an incredible week down here. He finished well in every race he's been in. He qualified well. He and Drew Blickensurfer, his crew chief. I believe that's going to be a surprise of the day.
And this looks like a lot of fun. You guys got to do this. 100,000 people. You're either on the grid there or you're in the car. There's William Byron experiencing this for the first time.
20 years old. Imagine what you were doing when you were 20, and now you're here at Daytona on the biggest stage, the biggest race of the year, the Great American Race.
You can see the breeze and the wind kicking up a little bit, which could be a factor. And we showed you a moment ago Martin Truex Jr., who will come into the year, and last year was a wild ride, defending his championship, starting at the back, or mid to the back, starting 24th. Truex had quite a season in 2017, driver of the 78 in that Toyota. Dominated stage racing, taking a series high 19 stages. He also was the only one to drive for the cycle. That's winning all the stages and the race, and he did it twice. Plus, he had 26 top 10s, 19 top 5s. He went to victory lane some 8 times. It all led to what was a championship run for Martin Truex Jr., and he's hoping to get that first Daytona 500 win today. That'd be a great way to follow up last year's title. His story, it's a powerful one. Truex's girlfriend battled cancer. His car owner suffered a heart attack. His crew chief lost his best friend. The team lost a crew member. Somehow, they brought it all together, as Regan Smith explains from their home office.
Truex Jr. has taken the best that Kyle Busch could throw at him. I know it's you and you know it's in me.
All right, here we go. You know, this is it. This is rolling marbles.
Truex to the lead. How about this, Martin Truex Jr.? 2017 champion, baby.
We'd go out and we'd be aggressive, and we're like, we got to win this. Worked out okay, I guess.
Best team all year long can now celebrate a championship.
I think it worked out better than okay for you there.
Oh, my God, man. You guys are awesome. Thank you. You are the champion, baby. Woo!
I saw you in December, and you've been busy. I don't think you had stopped since you won the championship, and then maybe hadn't had a chance to reflect on it yet. Have you had a little bit of that chance? Has it sunk in just a little bit now?
I think it has.
You're going to be a Hall of Famer now.
Oh,
that's
man.
badass, Martin. That's cool stuff.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy to think about those things. I'm definitely enjoying the moment. I'm enjoying what we're doing. You know, obviously it's a special time to be part of this team.
To look at the rise that Furniture Row Racing has had in basically 13-year time period, it almost seems unheard of in this sport. Did you ever envision that this is what it would become and this is what it would get to?
Well, I think each driver that we had, including you, made us better. The team, we just kept attracting good people to Colorado, people that came highly recommended.
You were at Furniture Row for a couple years. You left for about a year.
Got fired.
I was trying to keep it a clean interview, but if we're going to go there, right?
See, Regan and I are friends. You're an ass.
Hey, we got our first bleep in this interview instantly. This worked out well.
Cole Pern kind of moved in there, and they started gelling.
And the move was made to promote you to crew chief. What was the chemistry like between the two of you guys right then?
I think even when we struggled, we really, got along pretty well.
I felt like we communicated really well as far as talking about the car, him understanding what I'm saying, and it was really pretty seamless.
Barney Visser has come in, and he's built a team that has kind of rocked the foundation of NASCAR.
Every guy that came in, I know they think they're a bunch of misfits. They enjoy that, but every one of those guys came in highly recommended.
When you started this team in Denver and you were going to race out of Denver, and you were very adamant about that.
Not everybody that wants to run at the highest level of racing in this country wants to live in North Carolina.
Can you go to lunch or dinner or anything out here?
Well, I think, our team definitely gets noticed more. I like, Denver's got a pretty good hipster scene, so we go downtown for lunch and all these, hipster restaurants, and then you start getting recognized in there. You're like, wow, we're really, chartering some new territory here. So
you guys are hipster legends around here, huh?
Well, Denver will support anything that's winning. I mean, I don't care what it is.
It's a good sports town.
Yeah, I mean, if we've got a winner coming out of this town, we're going to like them. And they now have somebody to follow. Martin and Cole have not disappointed.
Martin Truex Jr. trying to win back-to-back Cup championships. It's only happened 13 times in the sport. Today he's worried about the Daytona 500, but you have both been able to do that. How difficult is that?
It's very difficult, but I will say that whole team, I love the story all across the board, but with Martin Truex Jr. Specifically, I used to see Martin Truex Jr. say, oh, we could have won that race, but maybe we could have won a championship, but now I see Martin Truex Jr. It's like, bring on the next race. We're going to go win it. Confidence and a swagger.
You know, the last guy to have a season comparable to what Martin Truex had way back in 1996, Jeff Gordon.
Really, that dominant?
That's how dominant this.
Whatever happened to him?
He got a second job.
He got a second gig. No, well, that's impressive. That's how impressive.
That's how impressive. 8 wins, over 2,000 laps led, and the last time anything was that close was when Jeff did it.
And he indicated too that he feels like the pressure is off this year after getting that championship, and maybe he'll enjoy his ride a little bit better. And he'll enjoy this too. That earlier this month, his longtime girlfriend Sherry Pollux, who we talked about, we were rooting for, she rang the bell at her doctor's office, a symbol that she had just completed 6 months of chemo after that recurrence of ovarian cancer. She's been here at Daytona to support him, and gathering in support from everyone, is currently doing well, and we're happy for her. All right, getting closer to the start of the Daytona 500. We're going to go 0 to 60 with a guy who's won it before, Joey Logano. And the grid walk is coming up as well. Don't go away.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you guys have too much time in between whatever we do. It is that we do.
And that trophy is heavy, man. Don't try to pick that thing up.
The roles should have been reversed, maybe.
Oh yeah, I had to go get the trophy. I had to put it in the trunk. I had to tell him which way to go, and he went the wrong way.
I love the look. And in fact, it is getting a little cooler here.
The wind is definitely picking up. That's going to be a major factor for these drivers coming off of turn 4 down this front straightaway.
What they haven't had here all weekend, they've had a tailwind down the back, which pushes you into turn 3. Today they got a headwind.
Okay.
So that's really going to buff these cars around going down the back.
Nice to see the senior baby drivers. You can take your shades off now. I'm amazed, too, every time we come here, how calm and cool the drivers are before they go in the car and 200 miles an hour with another 35 or 40 other drivers. Usually athletes, before they perform, they're not bothered by media, fans, people around them asking the questions, even sponsors. Drivers seem to enjoy it before their greatest moment. So 0 to 60 in the driver lot today. I caught up with one of the drivers, Joey Logano. This is the morning of the biggest race of the year. How are the nerves? You're this close to starting.
I'm pretty relaxed. You know, it's one of those things that you haven't raced in a few months, so you kind of want to get back in the flow of things.
Yeah, you won this 3 years ago. Is that front and center in your mind, or is it a distant memory?
No, I remember exactly what it was like. That's what makes me want to win even more.
Is there somebody you don't want next to you towards the finish?
I don't care. I don't want any.
As long as you finish
I just want to be ahead. I don't care who's behind me at that point.
Right. Another life-changing moment. Your wife, Brittany, first child coming in this year.
That was life-changing.
That was life-changing. But how did you?
It was way more than the Daytona 500.
How did you announce the gender of that baby?
Oh, we did a great burnout with a Mustang GT350, right? I mean, why not?
Now, what's the first car you ever drove?
My first car I ever drove, actually, I had a Honda Civic, and my dad got it from the junkyard, and I was like 7 years old, and he taught me how to drive a stick shift.
At 7?
Yes, and he put some blocks on the pedals, and I would drive the thing around the garbage yard a lot, and I never hit anything with it, which was great. Probably the only car I've never hit anything with.
That's changed over the years. Right?
Yeah.
I know in a few minutes you're going to be going 200 miles an hour. Thanks for going 0 to 60 with us.
There we go.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, Joey. And at age 27, Kevin Harvick called Joey Logano a tweener. As we look at the ages, look at the three layers here. We have 40 drivers in the race. 16 have less than 100 starts. 14 of the drivers between 100 and 400 starts. And then 10 have 400 starts or more. So there's a lot of 20-year-olds, a lot of youth injected into the sport. What impact does it have on a race like the Daytona 500?
Well, first of all, notice what made that happen. A lot of top drivers like Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, myself, Tony Stewart,
Matt Kenseth
stepping away. And what does that do? That opens up the opportunity in the seat in a top-notch race team and race car for these young guys who have the talent. Now they have the opportunity.
Yeah, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I've been here for this the second transition I've seen where we went from established stars to some unknowns. Those unknowns became established stars. They left, and then here come another group. It's about a 10-year cycle. About every 10 or 12, 15 years, we have a cycle like this where some of the older drivers retire, and here comes a bunch of new guys, and it's a great. It's their time. If they're good, if they're smart, they'll capitalize on this opportunity.
And you said they have the opportunity. Real quick, Jeff, why or how are they more prepared at such a young age for such a big stage?
Well, because these days kids have so much more at their disposal to get behind the wheel of, whether it be iRacing, whether it be a quarter midget or a go-kart. They're so much better prepared because there's so many different levels of racing to help teach them how to compete against the best in the world here at Daytona at the famed 2.5-mile speedway in the draft.
Technology. They embrace technology. We kind of ran from it because it scared us. These kids embrace it, and they learn from it, and they apply it.
Yeah, Joey in a car driving a Honda Civic stick shift at age 7. That kind of wowed me. We'll see how he does today. Michael's won this race, the Daytona 500, twice, but he enjoys the grid walk here just as much. Michael, where are you? I know you're hanging out in the crowd somewhere.
Yeah, I'm down here on pit road. I've caught up with Tyron Woodley, UFC champion. Answer this question. How many seconds do you estimate it would take to tie me into a pretzel?
A pretzel? How many seconds is it going to take to get out the pit?
About 12 seconds.
About 12 seconds.
I don't want that. Kurt, I wanted to tell you how much I've enjoyed your appreciation, your respect for being the champion of this great event. Thank you for that, and can you become a 2-time champion today?
Thank you. It's been a tremendous 364 days of being a Daytona 500 champion. Best part now, it's about today. Teamwork, focus, and determination. With my new crew chief, Billy Scott, it's time for the Monster Energy Ford to win again.
Love it. Hi, guys. Hi, girls. Hey, Billy. Hey, Kyle Busch, my brother Darrell Waltrip picked you to win today's Daytona 500. It's got to be quite an honor.
It certainly is. I hope he's right. And I'm looking forward to taking this M&M's Toyota Camry to the front and hopefully being able to win this thing.
Everything I saw yesterday in that Xfinity race reminded me of you, making awesome, bold, crazy moves. Is that what today's going to look like?
Probably. I would bet so. Those cars look like they were glued to the track a little bit better than these ones are. It's going to be a handful today, but it's going to be an exciting one to watch.
Well, the car's beautiful. I can't wait to watch you. You've got mad restrictor plate skills.
Oh, thank you very much. I hope to use those today to get to victory lane.
Let's see who else we can find. Who's behind me? Hi, guys. A bunch of Toyota folks. Appreciate you being here, being a part of NASCAR. Man, Jake, I'm going to tell you, the sea of people down here on pit road today is more than I've ever seen before. Luckily, my buddy Clint Boyer has made it. Hey, Clint, are you ready for the Daytona 500? I know you love this race.
It's more work right now than the actual race, but, man, this is it. This is the big one. This is the granddaddy of them all. We're all here to put on a show for all these fans, and can't wait to get out there. This Russ Truck Center's car, boy, it looked good in victory lane, huh?
It looked awesome. Tell me how much your appreciation for this event has grown over the years.
Yeah, that's just it. Every year you come back, it's, you know it more than anybody. You got to do it more than about anybody. So every year you just get more and more excited to get out there and get it done. It's a lot of pressure, a lot of eyes on this race, and it's for a good reason. It's a Daytona 500.
Cars look like they're hopping around. You're good at a loose car.
Yeah, that's right. Now go on.
Hey, Ricky, my hero from Thursday. More moves than it. You had moves like Jagger. What's today going to look like?
I hope some more of the same. End up close to the front like we did in that duel. Start 9th, and I want to stay up front all day and put this fast on forward in victory lane.
So it's a Daytona 500, but there's stage points available. Charged from the beginning?
Yeah, I need all the points I can get.
Love his attitude. Here's Eric Jones. He's won a lot of races in the Xfinity, the trucks. Eric, it's the grid walk. Michael Waltrip here. My brother thinks you're going to have a breakout season. I think I said that first, and he agreed. How do you feel about the 500? This is the Daytona 500.
I'm pumped. You know, I was, I don't know, I think I was more nervous for my first one, so the second one, it feels like I've been able to enjoy it more. So excited, man. Good starting spot. I'm ready to get rolling.
Well, soak it all in. We're having a good time. I'm going to go say hi to Bubba. He hadn't been busy this week. I don't think he's done a lot. Hey, Bubba, it's Michael Waltrip. I'm doing my grid walk. We're live on Fox. I just want to tell you it's been fun watching you this week and the way you drove your car in the duel and the way you've been able to take all these pictures. Every time I look up, you're on camera somewhere.
It's impressive. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I hope you got the good back of my head look there. It's good.
You have a great day today driving the King's car.
Appreciate that.
I'm really proud of the job you've done.
Thank you, Mike.
Oh, I've got mad skills on the court.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see him.
All right, I'm going to send it back up to you. What about this scene? It's so crazy down here.
Yeah, and Bubba, one of the blossoming personalities amongst the young drivers. By the way, Jake, he referred to as Jake Jalabet, our producer. We shipped in from Cincinnati. All right, real quick, we've been talking drivers. Give me your pick.
Well, I like Eric Jones, and rehearsal's over. It's showtime, guys. It's showtime.
I thought this was showtime.
Number 9. It's going to be an Elliott again in that number 9.
My 20.
Oh, that brought a roar here. All right, watch those Fords gang up on everybody else. You guys have fun calling the race, the 60th running of the Great American Race. And these people are all anxious, as we are. Live here in Daytona, Jimmy Johnson once said there have been other tracks that separated the men from the boys. This is the track that will separate the brave from the weak after the boys are gone. Jimmy Thompson with that quote. Jimmy Johnson, a quote earlier, the only two-time winner of the Daytona 500. This week in the state of Florida, across the United States, everyone's stunned and deeply saddened by the murders at the high school in Parkland, Florida. Young students, faculty members, every victim will always be remembered as individuals and as part of our American family. We think of them and their families today before opening ceremonies. Well, Henry Ford said auto racing began 5 minutes after the second car was built. We're just minutes away from the greatest racing you can have.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as the United States Armed Forces Joint Honor Guard from Jacksonville, Florida, present our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Sonny Goldman from Central Baptist Church, Daytona Beach, Florida, offers our invocation.
Let us pray. Oh God, on this day of great joy and delight, we pause and pray for the families and individuals of those affected by the tragedy in Parkland. We ask also that you would bless those who fight for justice and peace around the world and be with the drivers and their crews. Keep the sun shining in the sky. Amen.
Here to perform the national anthem, please welcome the Navy Band Southeast.
NASCAR's opening day and its Super Bowl race all rolled into one. The 60th running of the Daytona 500 live on Fox. NASCAR on Fox live from Daytona International Speedway, the Great American Race. Driver introductions have been completed. Danica Patrick in her final ride in NASCAR and the Daytona 500. A blend of youth and experience. And speaking of that, 20 years ago this week, the great Dale Earnhardt, his quote after winning his first and only Daytona 500. He said, I woke up this morning and I still don't believe I won the Daytona 500. Larry McReynolds was his crew chief in that spectacular moment. That was the only Daytona 500 that Dale Earnhardt won. His son Dale Jr. retiring as a driver after last season. And that's the quote that I mentioned moments ago. Jr. has won 2 Daytona 500s. A fan favorite, always popular, retiring from the sport, but here as the Grand Marshal in the 60th running of the Great American Race. There's a lot of great quotes about racing. And, if you go back, Ernest Hemingway said auto racing, bullfighting, and mountain climbing are the only real sports. All the others are just games. Well, this is a game among the best drivers, or a race among the best drivers. As we head upstairs to the guys who will take you through the race, Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Gordon on their way up to join Mike Joy.
This race, Chris, just has always had controversy and always had close finishes. In 1959, that photo shot you saw launched an inquiry. There was no photo of the cars exactly at the start-finish line. So Bill France had to wait until newsreel footage that had been shipped from Daytona to New York and aired on TV stations and in theaters got shipped back down to Daytona, and they were able to analyze the finish and declare Lee Petty the winner of the first 500. All right, you've signed all the autographs, you've done all the interviews, you've explored all the storylines. Now you're strapped in, the windows net down, and what's the first thing on your mind?
Well, I can't do this by myself. I don't think any driver's ever won this race all by himself. You got to have a fast car, and some of these guys have really fast cars. You got to have a great pit crew. You got to have a spotter. You got to have a spotter that tells you when you're clear, when to move here, when to move there. We see this with the blocks these guys are throwing. So I know I'm not alone. Although I'm in the car by myself, I'm not alone because I got a lot of people helping me.
Well, both Darrell and Jeff know the way to victory lane at the Daytona 500. Was the first one or the last one the sweetest?
Ooh, I think the last one, but yeah. They're all sweet. I see the potential of this being one of the most grueling Daytona 500s for these drivers, and I'll tell you why. They're at speeds over 200 miles per hour on the draft. We haven't seen that in many years. These cars are very unstable. Now you take the amount of youth that's out there and inexperience, mix that with the veterans. I'm not sure who this is going to play out better for, veterans and experience or that young new talent that's out there.
And Chris, as we saw yesterday in the Xfinity race, NASCAR's overtime rules now has no limit. We'll do this as many times as it takes to get a winner.
And it was 5 overtimes on Saturday. Peyton Manning, he's handled overtimes before. What a race. We've heard from Charlize Theron. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is here. Peyton Manning, the honorary, you heard him talking earlier about handling the pace car. We have 6 drivers that are former champions of the sport, 8 drivers that have won a Daytona 500 before today. The average age in the field is just over 30, and nearly half the field, drivers in their 20s. It's been an active speed weeks, getting closer to the moment and the words you like to hear.
Larson is no exception.
Here to deliver the most famous words in motorsports for the 60th running of the Daytona 500. Please welcome Grand Marshal, 2-time Daytona 500 champion, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Welcome to the sold-out 2018 Daytona 500. Drivers, start your engines!
More than 100,000 fans to watch 40 drivers go 200 miles per hour, covering 500 miles or maybe more. Over 60 years, this place has created all kinds of drama and crazy finishes. Who will realize the dream today?